Before I start, I would like to introduce you to the largest pocket in the world. As you can see, I have everything inside my core, and I probably think that the whole Indian Ocean region, at least in the globe, can fit into my core. Mr. Chair, my fellow panelists, Excellencies, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I would firstly like to thank the organizers for inviting me here. I studied here in Bangladesh between 1988 to 1994 as a medical student, and I spent 7 years here. So this is really like a homecoming for me. It's my second home. I would have actually delivered this address partly in Bangla, but since it's been many years since I last spoke the language, I'm afraid that I might make some mistakes. But really it is an honor for me to address this diverse and distinguished group of leaders and experts from across the region. As we gather here today, we recognize the infinite potential of the Indian Ocean region as well as the challenge that we face in securing peace and prosperity for our people. The theme of this conference, Peace, Prosperity and Partnership for a Resilient Future, is a befitting one which reflects the aspirations of all the nations in this region. And I would like to touch each of them one by one. Let me begin with peace. Bhutan, as a landlocked country in the eastern Himalayas, may seem far removed from the Indian Ocean, but we recognize the vital role this region plays in global affairs. The Indian Ocean is home to some of the world's busiest shipping lanes and is critical to global trade and commerce. It is also home to a rich diversity of cultures and peoples, and it is a shared responsibility to ensure that this region remains peaceful and prosperous for generations to come. I say this because as much as the Indian Ocean region is critical for global trade and commerce, it is also vulnerable to not just traditional challenges of security, but emerging threats of biohazard, cyber warfare, maritime piracy inter alia. These threats not only endanger our economic interests, but also the security and well-being of our people. We must work together to tackle these challenges, leveraging our collective strengths and resources to build a more secure and peaceful region based on the principles of rules-based order. As a proud member of the United Nations, Bhutan also actively contributes to peace-building efforts around the world. Secondly, in terms of prosperity, the Indian Ocean region has immense potential to become the most economically prosperous region of the century. The region has the economies of scale, immense consumer market, and the technical prowess which can propel the world into an era of global affluence based on the ethos of sustainable development. The region is home to 64% of the global population and 60% of the global GDP. It also accounts for around 40% of the world's oil supply and 64% of oil trade. We must seize this opportunity to drive inclusive growth and create a brighter future for the people of this region. I wish to recognize here the endeavors of both India and Bangladesh for taking climate-conscious decisions, even while furthering its development imperatives. Thirdly, with regard to partnerships, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us how susceptible and interdependent the world is. As we look to the future, we must recognize the challenges that lie ahead. Climate change, natural disasters, and pandemics are just some of the threats that we face. We need to work together to build resilience and prepare for the future. In this regard, Bhutan has taken several steps to address these challenges, including our commitment to remain carbon neutral and our efforts to promote sustainable tourism. It is of no surprise that the Indian Ocean region is no longer based on the arithmetic of contemporary power equations, but a natural construct based on the principles of inclusivity, camaraderie, and multi-stakeholderism. We recognize that Bangladesh and India, as responsible nations, are committed towards ensuring the rise of a free, open, inclusive, and rules-based Indian Ocean region. We must continue to work together to promote dialogue, cooperation, and understanding among all stakeholders, respecting each other's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence. In conclusion, I would like to underline that while the Indian Ocean region has immense potential for peace and prosperity, it can only be realized if we work together in partnership to overcome the challenges that we all collectively face. As for Bhutan, we remain fully committed to working with our neighbors to promote peace, prosperity, and partnership. Let us seize this opportunity to build a more secure, stable, and sustainable future for our region and the world at large. I thank you, and Tashdilil.
Thank you very much for your, what I would